I want to talk about another angle that Femin should take instead of some of maybe, or just not instead of, but in addition to some of the things they're protesting against. I know they're with Occupy Wall Street now. That I don't particularly agree with. They're against crazy laws that are inside of Muslim countries. They're for women's rights. They're for abortion and various things like that. Against Putin's rigged election. I'm against Putin too. But I want to actually suggest something to always get on pushing medicinal marijuana oil and actually industrial hemp. That would actually break the power of the elite. And it truly would. Now, this is a picture of a little girl who is a cancer survivor. And it's typically the propaganda. Sometimes the child will be having lost hair from chemotherapy or radiation. And it makes you want to give money to help them. So much donations per month. But I state, cynically, me, that it's all a racket because the cures already exist. And one of the best cures out there is this simple marijuana plant that if you condense the oil from the leaves, it is a very, very effective cancer cure. Extremely effective on all forms of cancer, whether it's lung cancer, cancerous tumors, cancer of the skin, brain cancer. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It works against all cancers, one way or the other. And it has a number of other medicinal benefits. The problem is the pharmaceutical industry hates it because it could be grown for free, basically. And actually, anybody could grow this plant if it were legal and cure a number of diseases out there, including some of the worst diseases going. It even works against AIDS to infect, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, a number of diseases, and Crohn's disease. Now, I also want to make a suggestion. Well, let me get on with this over here first. This was from Russia Today. I'm going to post a reference for this. Basically, this was about a protest that Femin did on December 19th. It was in honor, basically, well, maybe not in honor of, but to bring highlight to a protest that the KGB cracked down upon on December 19th and brutally suppressed. Now, the KGB says they did not touch these women, but what they did was they took them someplace and left them stranded with no clothes, no money, or nothing like that. And basically that was like a psychological shock to the max. So that was really the type of torture. It was not a physical torture, it was a mental torture. Now, I also want to point out the character that they were protesting. He's actually been well documented from Amnesty International, Amnesty USA, Belarus human rights violator, Lukashenko. He was elected in office in 1994. So, Femin is actually protesting against something that's legit here. But I'm suggesting that always in all protests incorporate that medicinal marijuana be available to all peoples within the world, and industrial hemp, which can provide food and energy and replace plastics and polluting type of things that are manufactured. And, where you have the Rothschilds talking about, oh, we have to save the earth from plastics. Well, if things are made from hemp, everything would be recyclable and we'd solve that problem. It would solve about every problem out there. And medicinal marijuana oil would cure people of cancers and many other diseases. It's been known. It's been known. They knew this in the 1800s and stuff. And actually, it was the medical establishment that was actually protesting the Marijuana Tax Act in 1937, which made it basically illegal to grow marijuana or hemp in this country, because the medical establishment realized at that time it was a very effective medicine. But the game is about money. And, I have to show this again. This is how they appeal to people. They want sympathy. They want sympathy. But what's really going on is they're using this child as a tool to get money for themselves for endless research that never bears fruition, because the endless research is nonsense, because the cure is already here. It is called medicinal marijuana oil. cannabis cures cancer. It's that simple fact. And it's been proven. I mean, I don't know. You need an official study backed by millions of dollars. Well, you know what? The proof is all the people have used it and what they say. So there is your proof. Whether the king endorses it or not. And now, since Femin is an organization going against these human rights abuses and going against human rights abuses of people being denied proper cancer treatment is a form of torture. But let me get on with this Lushenko, which they were protesting against, where they took the Femin members, they didn't touch him, but they threw him out in a remote area with no clothes and no money. That's psychological torture. So it was a torture. It's just that it wasn't physical in a true sense. But Lushenko was elected in office in 1994, and since that time his government has been authoritarian. The Belarusian government has cracked down on opposition leaders and movements and abused civil rights to freedom of assembly and association. It was announced on December 20, 2010 that Lushenko had again been reelected by president of almost 80% of the votes. The Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe observer mission determined the election, despite fair, a little bit better, had failed to meet the standards. So you know what's going on there. Those who oppose Lushenko's regime through nonviolent venues, including opposition candidates and human rights activists, have been systematically suppressed by means of violence, arrest, and threats. The international community has recognized Belarus measures as intentional silence of legitimate concerns. Obviously. Very obvious. And financial and travel sanctions against ruling officials have been levied by the European Union and the United States in an attempt to force the Belarusian government to cease its abuse of human rights. That is not doing a hell of a lot of good. So, that protest that they got slammed for was actually an honorable protest, what they were doing, because that guy is a bad guy. I don't agree with everything they're talking about, and I really don't care about it that much. But I realize they are a very, very effective marketing tool, and I also realize there's some kind of money behind them, and I pretty much figured out who that is. But I would suggest that they use this medicinal marijuana oil as something that's incorporated in their campaigns, because it will actually give them a lot more widespread support, which is what they're looking for. But if you really want to piss off the real elite are mainly in the oil industry, which hate industrial hemp, and also in the pharmaceutical and medical industry, which hate medicinal marijuana oil. Now, and my other angle is, instead of getting naked in protest, you should consult the God. He's the God of the God. Karl Lagerfeld. This guy knows, he's the genius of the geniuses of fashion. Now, if you want attention, actually, yeah, skin gets attention, but the best way to really get the real attention is a combination of skin and pure fashion. And this guy is the god of the gods. Now, I wish I remember who the hell I used to know. I was actually related to him. Her name was Monica, and I can't remember the last name, but she had a Russian last name. Her father was Russian. He owned a bunch of nightclubs in Southeast Asia, and her mother owns she's a fashion designer. She's a major fashion designer. But fashion is the way to get the most attention, and actually that would keep you from getting in hot water a lot more, because you could show some skin, but if it's done in the most taste, then they're going to, hands off garbage, and you still get through all your protests, you still get the attention. But the reason I'm stating this is that, these people that are pushing this type of cancer survivor, help the children, yet they're keeping the medicine out of the hands of people that need it, I'd like to be able to, put the thing right to them that medicinal marijuana oil cures, and that these people, there's a big conspiracy out there by the elite to keep it out of the hands of the people and keep it out of the hands of the children. Because basically, the cure is free. You don't need to contribute all this money or monthly payments to the children, because you're not giving it to the children anyway. You're giving it to some damn established medical doctor who's doing some research on some garbage that the research is actually and the cure is actually here. The cure is medicinal marijuana oil. It's plain and obvious. So, my appeal to Femin is push medicinal marijuana oil as your cause. You'll get a widespread, more public base instead of looking like, well, I don't want to be critical, but it looks like you're more of a fringe group. In other words, it gives it more of a wide base, and it actually is really anti-elite. And use fashion. Use the God, this guy, or something along that lines, because fashion actually gets the most attention. Believe me, it does. This guy is a genius. He's a god amongst gods. Old Carl, definitely.